it was a great win last night for us in Williams Arena in Minnesota. We got back fairly early, as it would turn out, like at 1 a.m., which is in the Big Ten, it's usually 2 or 3. So we're fortunate to have a 7 o'clock game there, and to be able to get back. So today we worked on the video of Michigan State and Minnesota, the whole plane ride back. The coaches did. Today we all been up early, working on it again. We'll have a walkthrough today, and a lot of saving the legs and getting them ready for this with a day and with really a practice and a half. It's a little bit more difficult, but it is something that you have to be able to do. So we'll have a good practice. We'll mimic what some things we'll see. Tomorrow will be a great day for us to just get ready. And we don't play again until Thursday, so we have Sunday off. So we just tell the kids we just got to pour these next 48 hours into this game, and so we can be as ready as we can be. Really excited that we have the majority of the members from the '89 team here. We have Steve Fisher back. It's tremendous, and about 200 other alums of the basketball program are here. It's something we've really worked hard at to just make everyone feel this is one great big family, the entire environment that we have here. So there's a lot of logistics involved with that. Lisa Nicholson has done an incredible job of putting that, and Chris Hunter of putting that all together, and we're excited about that as well. So going to be a great game. Michigan State is so good. They have the names change. They've been hit by the injury bug a little bit, and I don't see any difference right now. They're playing terrific. They really have a good team. Obviously, they have a great system is in place. We got 2 really tremendous programs in this state, as I've said many times. And this is a great game that, I'm sure has a lot of interest everywhere, and we're going to try to do the best to be ready for it.
Ethan, you want to start us off?
John, without Nick Ward, I guess, how are things different for John Teske?
I think right now they do this great job of grooming the next guy, So Ward is a really good player and has given us fits over time. But they just plug in Tillman. He's good. Neither one of them are three-point shooters, but both of them are tremendous power players. Nick Ward Tillman has more offensive rebounds than Nick Ward. Goins has more offensive rebounds than Nick Ward. So I think they're playing really well without him. I'm sure they'd love to have him, but there's not this tremendous drop-off inside. These 2 guys are good. Chris?
How critical is transition defense, and what do you do to prepare for their?
Probably everything in this game. You'd like to have 2 or 3 days to prepare and then a day to rest, so that you can give the effort. But they're as good as anybody in the country, and that's really important. That's where they really are. Cassius is elite in it. Their bigs are elite at running the floor. McQuaid's running 1 lane, and he's deadly right now. Cassius can drop off. He can pull up. He can go all the way to the rim. It's really a challenge.
And then
we work on it all year long, but not at the speed that they're going to come at us. So it may take us a while to get used to it, and hopefully we do.
And then the last short turnaround didn't go real well for you guys. Penn State, have you done anything differently, or is it different?
Well, we haven't done this turnaround yet.
Right.
We just started the turnaround.
So will you do anything differently?
Well, we don't have to travel to State College.
Right.
That will be different.
Yep. Good point.
Right. We're in our own beds, and we're right
Yep.
here. Yeah. So no, that can't be an excuse. It wasn't a short turnaround at Penn State. We just didn't play very well.
Jay?
John, I know coming into this game, Isaiah is the only player you have on the team who's from Michigan that's played against Michigan State. So with 5 incoming freshmen, they've seen how some of these games have gone the past few years, but what's it like for them going into this game, going against their rival, and in this case, with first place in the conference on the line?
Yeah, I think there's only 3 players on the team that have played against Michigan State, if I'm not correct. Maybe, no, Isaiah and Jordan, there are 5. We played against them, but not. I don't think here. I don't think we have that because we only played them once or twice last year in the tournament. No, this is something that our kids are all ingrained with. Not necessarily by me, but by all the media and everything of this game is omnipotent to so many people. And if that's a word, I think it's a word. And it means a lot to so many people for them for the bragging rights, and it's 1 game at a time, but it could be 4 times this year. You don't know, and so you just got to try to take it 1 day at a time, and it's an important game. And they are standing in the way of the Big Ten or conference championship, right? And so are several other teams. This is just another one of those teams, and they're really good. But I know it means an awful lot to our fans. That's why it means a lot to us.
And I know that in the past you've said that, once you're in game mode, you're not really hearing the crowd, you're blocking things
Right.
out. But with 200 alumni here, with the 89 team in the house,
Yeah.
with Michigan State here, are you expecting the most charged up atmosphere in Chrysler? Maybe
We've had some really good atmospheres, but this probably will rival some of those because I think, so many people go off the ratings, and I don't do that, but I think the last time that we had this, I do remember there were some pretty epic games that we played, that went right down to the last seconds in a charged up atmosphere in here. So I mean, it's gonna be great. We have had several sellouts in a row. I'll let you guys decide what was louder, between this game and other games. But I'm sure it will be it'll be a great atmosphere, and hopefully it's a great atmosphere for everyone, including family, children, everything. I'm really hoping and send out a message that everything stays nice and clean, and we root for both teams, and we do a great job of creating a great atmosphere for Michigan.
Stay there with Orion.
Going back to John, what do you guys need from this game?
John,
That's
we take those 3 threes again if we could get it. That's for sure. That would really be helpful to us. And stay out of foul trouble, right? Length at the rim, right? They've always had a great mix of inside and outside play, much better than ours mix of inside and outside. Their fives aren't. I think Costello shot a few threes, but their fives don't shoot the outside shots like ours do, but they do a great job of putting it inside. So John's got to be able to do a lot of different things, but he's been up against some pretty good big guys right now, and he's going to have some more good big guys to go against. But just making them miss, and then their offensive rebound, as always, is elite. And that's another thing we got beat a little bit with last night. But they got, they had Murphy and Otero. They got guys just like that just really get the board. They say, when I saw today that Goins and Tillman have more offensive rebounds each than Ward has, that's pretty compelling.
And then Cassius is having a great year this year. What can you guys do to try to slow him down in this game? And how important is this for Xavier?
Well, they're all. I mean, those are 2 guys that have been competing probably since they were 8 years old, and I know that's one thing. Both of them got to try and guard each other without getting in foul trouble. I think you got to load up against Cashin. You just can't see one jersey, but you can't leave McQuaid, right? You can't leave Arns. Those guys are big time shooters. You can't go down and double down in the post too much because they pass the ball. They're averaging almost 20 assists a game. So they're really good, and that's why they've been so good this year. They've had some great runs, and played played a slightly tougher schedule than us, and got almost the same record.
Andrew?
With some adversity with these injuries.
Everywhere you've been, there's been a rivalry. I'm wondering, did you always have the sort of mentality you have now? Don't put too many chips into one game, or did it take time?
It's been basically the same because basketball's just different. I told you guys before, and our young guys are here. Football games you play them once, and it probably is going to determine who's going to go to the championship. Right? That's it. There should be this, but with us, there's a game, and then there's another game, and that's playing the tournament. And there's another game, and we made the NCAA. There's another game. You can't just say, hey, this is like life or death. Where it's never life or death, but with a football season. Hockey, I think, plays them 6 times. I don't think there's like this life or death situation. So it is really important, I know, to be at our best and win this game. But it's not how we measure our success.
And has there been any thought at all to tweaking the starting lineup at all, AD or Isaiah, anything like that?
Absolutely 0.
All right.
Why? Should we?
No.
Okay.
Chris?
When did you?
We're 24-3. Just change everything. Just make it being funny.
When did you first meet Steve Fisher, and how has that relationship developed?
This is funny. One of my first Nike trips I ever went on. Here I was, the coach of Canisius, so it must have been in the early '90s. And I go on the Nike trip, and there he is, and he's like, "Wow, they won the national championship, and he's got tremendous teams." And we actually struck up a relationship by the pool. He probably doesn't remember it. And I was, just sort of talking, and he was so nice to me. And then, ever since we've sort of we stayed in touch. We see each other on the road. I always remembered my name, and a lot of, when you're the coach at Canisius and Richmond, a lot of those guys don't know your name. You always did. And then when we got the job, I think we spoke within, months after I got the job, if not weeks, and so complimentary, and we're so excited that he's coming back. I think it's just a great thing for him to be with that team. We're going to have a big dinner for him and the whole team. I just think it's when you've coached as long as he has or if I have, there's special moments that when he, with your team, and then 30 years after your teams, you realize that's why you coached, and that's why you see these men grown up now to be so successful. And now it puts it sort of all together, the reasons, the purposeful life that we try and lead.
Do you remember watching the '89 team at all? And Glen Rice?
Yeah, I was in Seattle. I was
okay.
actually in Seattle. It was I think that I don't know why I think I was in Seattle twice. I didn't go to a Final Four until maybe '84, but it must have been there in '84 and '89 because I went both times. And yeah, it was tremendous. And I do. Kathleen was with me, and I remember us walking away and said, "That is the best fight song we have ever heard in our lives." And we sort of rooted for them. We used to get all four of the kids a different jersey from the Final Four. And there's actually a picture with Patrick with the Michigan jersey on after the '89. And so it's but we did agree that's the fight song. But had no say, hey, we want to coach there someday. It just sort of happened.
Thanks.
James?
John, rivalries, I guess there could be animosity between coaches. That seems
Yeah.
to be the case between you and Tom, I guess.
No, not really. I mean, I don't think we've ever been to dinner or anything like that. I don't think that, but we do. We understand we're both are really blessed to be coaching at these two universities. There's a lot of respect. We do share, like, when our escapes are similar, right? Our family and getting on a lake in the summertime for a short time. But there's like no animosity at all. But we don't text often, we don't call often. But if there's something big in the league, he and I usually connect and say, okay, what do you think of this? Jim Blaney's going to do this. What do you think? Or the NCAA is doing. Both of us are involved in the NCAA. He more from the NABC. And with my ethics coalition experience, there was during this last decade. There's been a lot of input about the changing world of the NCAA that he and I share.
Has there been any maybe moments that maybe exemplified the respect you guys?
Well, I certainly when he called was one of the first calls this year after I had my heart surgery. But no, I think we both understand the challenges of this life, and it's a great life. I mean, we're compensated so well. We have so many just great things. But the demands on our life, I think there's some connection there that just making sure that when your summer is all recruiting, right? And you understand why you get a big paycheck. At the same time, we're always trying to get back to just our roots as well, because he comes from a small town. I come from a small town. I think Iron Mountain might be much bigger than Burke, New York, actually. But it's I think we come from similar beginnings.
Noah?
Curious, back earlier in your career, are there any other rivalries that you've been a part of that really stood out to you and that maybe people don't know that much about? Canisius or Richmond?
No, Canisius, it was Niagara and St. Bonaventure. Those were like huge for us when I was there. And then Richmond, VCU was the enemy. That was it. And then the Pitt, West Virginia backyard brawl. Right. I mean, those were times when I remember we hadn't beaten Pitt until my third year maybe when we beat them, and it was like this release off our back because they hadn't beaten them in a long time, and Pitt was really good, and all of a sudden, we sort of played equally the rest of the time. So I realized that I think at that moment, right, how much it meant to our fans, and the same thing at Richmond. We were fortunate to have some wins over VCU, and so that I knew how much that meant to the Richmond fans. And I remember we won at St. Bonaventure one time, and it was like been 30 or 40 years, and they said we hadn't won since Roosevelt was president. And somebody said, yeah, Teddy Roosevelt was the president, and of course it was Franklin. But it's been a long time, so it was really there's been some great moments there and some great rivalries.
On your left was Sean.
John, when you got here, you talked about Michigan State being the standard, at least in the conference, and that's where you wanted to be. And you're
they're one of the standards. I think we walked into Purdue was a standard at that time, and Wisconsin were standards, not the standard.
Right.
But they're good
but
standards.
a standard, right.
Yes.
You're head to head.
Let's not give them more credit, right? Okay, they already got enough.
Okay. Your head to head, your overall record, your success in the tournament. Do you feel like that's where you are at this point?
I think we've been competing, and certainly we started, rebuilding the program doesn't happen like that. So the first 3 years certainly were interesting for us as we tried to get this culture set. We tried to get a foundation of players. Since that point, I think that we've, you can compare things, I think we've been pretty representative of one of the top teams in the conference. And while, teams are going to go, the team, we've got 14 teams now. Teams are going to come up, they're going to go down. Purdue's such a great example of being first, and I think, Matt, they finished last one time, and now they're back to first. I mean, just this whole idea that this could be, it could go up and down based on pro attrition, both based on injuries, and for both of these programs to be where they have been with a whole bunch of championships in the last decade, right? I think 4 Final Fours in the last decade between the two of us, right? Who's doing that? What other state is doing that with two schools in the same state? I don't. Duke and North Carolina. That's the only one you can compare. And maybe I'm missing a state out there, but it's Virginia and Virginia Tech doing that. It's UCLA and Stanford doing that. It's not happening. Probably these guys can research it. It really says a lot about what two great programs we have. And along with those other ones that have been in the NCAA tournament this past decade, we get some great programs in this state.
Brendan?
You mentioned in the past that this game has come down to some wild finishes and stuff like that, and I wonder, in recent years, from Muhammad to Derek, whoever, I think you kind of had an idea of who you wanted taking last shots and things like that. With this group being as balanced as it is, I just wonder if you have an idea of who you want taking shots, or if it's strictly matchup dependent.
It will be a little bit of a matchup, who's guarding who on the other team, and what action. There's certain action that works against certain teams. It's something that they do every day that they counter. I'm talking any program that we do every day, and we have several things, and then we try to throw that action at them and see. But then, what are the matchup in that action? And so it's and some of them just gut. It's just gut. I just feel it. Like when Teskey missed those first threes last night, it was like, oh, he's not even close. And then he was so good, and they rattled in because they had so much spin, and they were right in the middle. Those last three were like daggers. So, and the way JP performed, I have no idea with this team. All I know is we seem to find a way all the time, or not all the time, but most of the time.
Anybody have anything else?
A lot of people point to your first win at the Breslin as a turning point for the program.
Big shot.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you view it the same way?
I think it was pretty big, based because of where we were. It wasn't just forget about the Michigan State. We were 1-6, and we just lost to Minnesota at home, and we were going to the Breslin Center, and they were just coming off a Final Four. I think that they might have been in the Final Four the year before. We were picked 11th in the league, and we were about to be 1-7, and all of a sudden, our record after that day all the way up to 14, when we had the injuries and guys go to the pro, was really good. And now, so hopefully, we've picked it up where, when we had to rebuild, we picked it up again. But that was really a big shot. And I think we come out of there 1-7, right? It would have been a whole different thing. It could have been, but our kids gave belief, and Novak and Douglas and Morris and Jordan Morgan, all those guys were terrific in that game, and that gave us a lot of hope for the future. Because we played against what was perceived one of the best, if teams in the Big Ten, or perhaps the best, and we won at their place. So it changed a lot of things, I think.
Hey, Coach.
All right, thanks.